Hi everyone, Sean here from the SciFi Model Guy, and welcome to Chapter 3 of the R2D2 R5D4 build from Bandai. We're going to be looking at the final weathering techniques that were applied to this kit, as well as a little bit of a final reveal. And once again, shout out to Echo Base Network from Nick and Coach. That's who this model kit was for, and really glad that you guys are enjoying that, and I thank you for the shout outs to this channel. So if anyone here is not yet subscribed to Echo Base Network, go ahead and give them a subscription, give them a check out. Some really good pop culture content, Star Wars content, and it's a really nice and balanced views and good entertainment there. So check them out. Their link is in the description of the video. So everyone, a little quick reminder, hashtag Enterprise, and once we reach 1,000 subscribers, of course, we'll be giving away the 650 Enterprise kit. If you've been with us for a while, you know this. If you're new to the channel, hashtag Enterprise will put you in contention to win a custom-built Enterprise lit model, which will be done and mailed to you after we hit 1,000 subscribers. And speaking of that, we are really close, everybody. We need like 55 more. I mean, we're right there. And with that, I just want to make a little bit of an announcement. Once we hit that 1,000 and we kind of get the channel to that next level, we're going to be starting to do some live streams. So we're going to be trying to reach out to other people out in the modeling community, having some interviews, some discussions, and things like that. So that's going to be a lot of fun, and really looking forward to bringing some of you guys out there. And some of you have been sending some submissions too. Would love to maybe talk about bringing one of you folks on, or all of you, and we have a little discussion about models and see how that goes. So, send me an email if you're interested in that, and we'll see what we can do with that. So really looking forward to that, as well as maybe even some interviews just from people in the science fiction community, maybe some authors, maybe some people that have worked in the industry, whether it's on shows or books or magazines, anything like that. I mean, this is a model channel, but it's science fiction related. So anything to do with that, science fiction, horror, all those kind of fun things, totally open to expanding a little bit on this channel and seeing what comes of it. So let me know if you're interested in that, and we can maybe work something together in the months to come. Okay, so all of that housekeeping stuff is out of the way. Let's get to this week's submission. So we're going to turn the screen black here, and we're going to bring up our user submissions here, or viewer submissions. So really good stuff today that we're going to be reviewing here, everyone. Now, we're going to start off with Ian. And Ian has sent us stuff before, some really good work. Go ahead and check out some of the previous videos that we've done showcasing Ian's work. But in particular, this week, he sent us two wonderful builds. The first one here is the Millennium Falcon. And the lighting on here is just great. I really like this. Even the way the pictures were taken, the photography is really good. Even like there's one shot here that has kind of like, the headlight things that are on the front of the Millennium Falcon, and you can kind of see those beams coming out. It's taken in low light. Really good photography here, really showcasing what you can do with these kits and how neat you can make them look. And really good. Now, Ian, if you're watching this, if you can, please post a comment on what brand, what manufacturer were these kits. I didn't quite catch that in your email. If you did put it there, I do apologize. It looks like it's Bandai, but I'm not so sure. It could be the Star Wars Millennium Falcon. Let us know if you can, with scale and brand, in case anyone out there would like to build this. I might even take a stab at it. It's really cool. Now, next, Ian's doing also the Jupiter 2. Now, this looks like a 135 scale, like the Polar Lights one we're doing. Which, by the way, the final reveal for that is going to be coming up in a couple weeks. We'll talk about that in a minute. Really nice detail. Now, for those of you who like Lost in Space, the Jupiter 2 is a very, very complex model. But if you've got the patience and like painting details and stuff, you cannot go wrong with this kit. As you can see from these pictures from Ian, they are really nice, really detailed, really good job here from Ian. So I want to thank you for submitting those. Okay, next up, we have some more pictures from Jody. Now, Jody just does not disappoint here. So we've got some more pics of the 2500 scale Enterprise D. Now this one, folks, if you're not familiar with, I think it is a snap together model, and it's a 2500 scale, and which means it's pretty small. It's about maybe 8 inches long, if I recall. I'll bring that up here when we put the camera back on, so you guys can see the little build I did of it. It was just a silly little build that I did, but Jody has taken this to the next level by lighting it. And I'll tell you something, folks. This kit is not intended to be lit, so however this was done is really good work. I mean, it's a small model, so to get the kind of lighting effect on something this small when it wasn't made for that takes a lot of skill. So Jody, really good job. And now that we say that, look at what else Jody did. This is incredible. So for those of you who are familiar with Star Trek, this is the scene from Star Trek Generations at the end, when the Enterprise D actually is taken out by the Duras sisters. And they get access to the shield frequency and shoot right through it, and the poor Enterprise drive section is gone bye-bye. Really good work. I think this is done with cotton, if I'm not mistaken. I really want to do something like this at some point, where you get cotton, you paint it, little orange, yellow, red colors and stuff like that, and then you light it from within, and you get this really nice effect. So really cool stuff there. Okay, now the last one that we're going to look at here comes from Mark. Now Mark sent me a whole lot of pictures from his totally custom build of 1313 Mockingbird Lane. And so for those of you who are familiar with pop culture and older TV shows, you will recognize that address as the Munsters home. And these pictures, I'm sure, don't do this thing justice. Mark had told me in an email he got some really good help from, I think they were Dollhouse Building community, because the community for Dollhouse Building is immense from what I found and see. Tons of people helping how to do different things, and it's just incredible what he's done so far. And I really look forward to getting more updates from Mark. It's an incredible little story. So Mark, if you care to, go ahead and share any part of the story that you'd like, and I will pin that in the comments here, because I would love for people here to see and read about what you're doing with this project. It's actually a really neat story behind this, everybody. And hopefully, if Mark's willing to share that would be great. And then love to see more progress on this as time goes forward. We've got this wonderful little coffin, the little phone in there. I mean, it looks like no details being left out. So I won't spoil what's coming. So I know some of the things Mark told me what's going to be happening with this build. I'm not going to spoil that. So Mark, you got to keep sending us pictures, man. You got us on the hook, and so you got to send more. Anyway, and we are now back. So, all right, everyone. Well, looks like I got this done in one take, which is incredible. I usually do about 10 of them for these little intros, but I want to thank you for your attention. Thank you for the subscriptions and everything. The channel's really moving along great, and looking forward to doing some live streams and expanding this project that we're doing and talking with more people. And the last thing I'll leave you with here is just a little sneak peek here. This is the Rio Grande runabout that we're working on. I'm really having a lot of fun with this kit. We're going to light. This is a 172 scale Rio Grande kit that originally came from Toys R Us. When I got this thing, it still had a Toys R Us price tag on it. In fact, I think it's right here. Little bit of an edit there, but here it is. This is a Toys R Us price tag that was on that kit. If you look at that price, it was $15, I think it was. No, I'm sorry, $15.99. So that shows you how long this has been around. Not only is the price lower, but Toys R Us doesn't exist anymore. So it was really a neat find. So we're lighting this, and it's going really well. Some of you may have seen the community posts on this. So we're doing this one. We have the Chapter 3 of the I'm sorry, not chapter 3, but the final reveal of the Jupiter 2. I think that's a chapter 3. And then we've got a whole bunch of other stuff planned I got behind me. A lot of neat things coming. So thanks everybody for your attention, and on with the video. All right, everyone, let's do some weathering. And before we continue and bring the models out to start doing this, I'm just going to review the materials here that we're using one more time. So starting from left to right, we've got some old paintbrushes here, just some different bristle status. Some of them are frayed, some not. I've just got a few options here. Then over here, I've got the Model Masters enamel stain. This is like the oily black one. This is the rust one. Now the thing is, they don't make this anymore, so I was really lucky that I had them. They were very, very dried out, but all it took was just adding some enamel thinner to them and pretty much filled it up to capacity, because I'd only used these things once on these, actually on this exact model for these old R2 and R5 that we have right here. So so I just added some enamel thinner. I got my little bristle brush here. This is like, it's kind of heavy duty brush, and I just got it in there and stirred it up until the black goo dissipated and it incorporated real nice. And I've shaken these up really well, and they're ready to go. And again, I feel lucky that I have these with me. Okay, and then here is the model tester's enamel thinner. I'm going to put that aside. Now here is just a little cupful of that enamel thinner. I just have it there on standby should I need it. And then circling around, we've got the Tamiya Weathering Master. And this is just kind of like that makeup powdery stuff that we talked about before. There's like a brown dirty color, a black, and a white. I've never really used the white so much. Maybe a little to blend it in. Like if you put it on a little too thick, you can get some of the white on there and just kind of gray it out. And again, this is one of the makeup applicators that comes in one of these little things. You can get them at Target or anywhere where they sell makeup. It's just an eyeliner applicator, I think. So, all right, that's it. And then just to point out, I have these are just two dishes here that I have, little glass dishes that I put the stain in, because I know me and my klutzy self would probably knock one of these over and spill it. So this is just in there to kind of keep them from spilling over. And that's it. So I'm going to put these guys up here. So I'm going to do the stains a little later. So I just put them up here and I put the lid on. And we're going to start off with the Tamiya weathering stuff. So let's give it a try with, we'll do it with R5. Now, R5 we're doing first because he's a little bit dirtier than R2. At least I want him to be a little bit more beat up. I don't know if you remember in A New Hope when they're being sold by the Jawas. Let's zoom in here. There we go. When they're being vended, R5 is like a little bit more worse for the wear. A little more rusty. He blows his motivator and so on. So reason we're going to start with him is because I haven't done this in a while, and if I go a little too heavy with this stuff, it's R5. So it's very, very hard to take this stuff back. Pretty much it's impossible. Once you put it on, just you're set with it. So start slow, start subtle, and when you think it looks great, that's when you stop. It's a different, well, not different, but it's like painting or anything else, and I think we've said this before in the videos. When you're putting something on or doing a weathering effect or something, and you're like, oh, that looks really neat. If I do more of it, it'll look even better. No. When it looks really neat, I'm doing the air quotes, that's when you stop. Okay. So, and remember, we're doing the entire droid. So you're going to put a little bit on the leg and you're like, oh, that looks really cool. Remember, you have a whole lot more to do. Okay. So, let's see, we've got him zoomed in on there on the screen, I can see. And so we'll just go ahead. So we're going to start with this. So now I am getting some on there. What I should do is just maybe get a little piece of styrene. There's some scrap here. And there we go. We'll just test it out. Okay. Now, if this stuff isn't coming up, you can take a file or an X-Acto knife or something like this, any kind of rough edge, and you can kind of loosen it up this way. I'll do that here. So I'm just loosening it up, and I don't know if you can see, but we're kind of getting a little bit of a powder on there. This stuff can dry out. So I'm just going to loosen some up, and that way when I need it, it'll go right onto the applicator. So we'll just put a little bit more, again, very slow, so you get a lot on there. And let's start in an area that's a little less conspicuous. So we'll start down in here. And when you're putting this stuff on, you want to think about a car or something you have where, or maybe even a barbecue or a grill is a good example. And think about where you tend to see dirt collecting, or it's, grease or things. It's usually in places that are kind of out of sight. They're a little bit hard to get to, things that you normally wouldn't clean. So I'm just kind of randomly just going in here. And I'm not purposely putting it in any spot, but what I'm doing is, when I mention, think about where it would land, it's kind of like a painter's trick, is you just think about it. Like, really, if you just think about where it would be, your hand will kind of do what your brain's telling it. It's really hard to explain what I'm trying to say here. Okay. I'm going to put a little bit more in here in these little grills. I see these things as kind of like a heat sink. Obviously there's a lot of computing power going on in there, so these circuits and things need air vents. So that's what I imagine these things are. And so you would see a lot of exhaust, a lot of soot and smudge going on around there. So now you can kind of see. Let's zoom in a little bit more. I think we can. Just want to make sure I don't take them out of the picture. So now you can see we're getting some nice subtle smudges. So like right here, for instance, I'm thinking, ooh, this looks neat. I'm going to put some more here. No, don't. Don't do it. Keep going around. And this is also a good point to think and look for any paint errors, some scratches that you might have had on here. This is your chance to cover those things up. Okay. Maybe some seam lines you don't like. Maybe you painted something with a hand brush and it just smudged a little. Okay, so I'm going to get a little bit more here. I'm going to put a lot on here, and probably these won't even be seen, but if the recipient decides to move the legs and take a look at them there. So also when you're doing this, remember you're going to have, if you're doing a stain or a wash, remember any other, zoom out a little bit here. You want to keep in mind any other stains or anything you're going to be putting on to weather your stuff. Okay, and so here's another good point here. Where does dirt and soot collect? Well, at the bottom, where it contacts the earth. So he's going to have a lot going on down here on the feet. R5 needs some new shoes. And I'll also, when I'm all done here, I'll get some brown and put that on there too, because he would be going over dirt. Whoops. He'd be going over dirt and sand and all that kind of stuff, and it would be building up very heavily on his feet. Another point another thing to point out here is rain, water. These droids are probably out working in the weather, probably getting a little rain on them, although on Tatooine, probably not so much. But when they would get wet, what would happen? Things would run down. So you're going to see a heavier collection near the bottom of the droid than on the top. So I'm just going around here. Just now on the bottom on the feet here, I'm being pretty liberal with this stuff. Again, because this is where you would see a lot, especially here where it's coming in and out of his body here. Okay. Now I'm going to move the light here just a little bit because it's, there we go. The phone was blocking it, so this is a lot better. Okay, where else would we see it? A lot along these creases. Moving parts would probably see some grease build up. Probably get a lot underneath the collar here. I'm not doing the head quite yet. I'm just, again, doing it in these subtle areas to kind of get the feel for it. I haven't done it in a while. And then, you know, even if you have done it in some time, it takes a minute to kind of get into your groove, to feel your mojo. And just on the back here, just kind of randomly do this. I'm going to smudge some down in this guy here. That looks good. A lot of times edges are a good place to do it because, you know, you see a buildup. That sometimes adds some good contrast. So we'll try that again here. So like right here, that's a good placement of some weathering right there. I think that looks nice. Okay. Again, R5's kind of really dirty. All right, let's just put a little bit more here. We'll go on his head. Let me rub some of that out. That was a little heavy. Now, when you're doing this, be careful of any decals you have. So right here, these decals I put on, and it looks like I've lost one. So let's cover that up good with that. We'll make that like it was burnt off. These decals were a bear to put on. Just really hard. All right, where should we put his... Well, it sucks they don't have the place for his, you know, quote-unquote bad motivator. Okay, I put a little bit on. I'm going to turn it to the cleaner side here. And just subtly rub these marks in, because if anyone was going to clean him at all, it would have been on his face. Oh, that's a... I saw these two dots there. I thought that was dirt. I put a little bit more. All right. Okay. I think this is just about good as far as this is concerned. A little bit more on his shoulders. So there we go. That looks pretty darn good. I mean, he's nice and beat up a little bit. Got some things going on. So now I'll take the other side here. Let's loosen up some of this brown color. Make sure I can see you. All right. I'll get the cleaner side here. And I'll just put a little bit on his feet. A little bit dirty shoes going on. I'm going to rub that in. And that gave a nice little rust color there. A little bit more brown than I wanted, so I'll go back over here and there we go. It's really easy to get carried away. But you start getting a feel for it when you're going, and these applicators really do a good job of actually, you know, it's almost hard to put too much. You can go over it too much, but anyway, so yeah, we're going to leave him there. Now, let's see. We'll put that up here, and we'll get a little bit of the oil. Now, this stuff here, you want to go very, very sparingly. And we're going to start very subtly, and I'm going to start at the bottom, and I'm going to do down here, because this is where grease, okay, kind of let's go back a little bit. Grease, and this is water stains and grease stains. Where would those be seen? You're going to see those in areas where they would tend to pool. So here's a good position right here at the foot. There's this curve. So you would see water and stuff pooling at the bottom, or grease pooling if it was going to run down his leg. You know, I didn't get any on there. I'm just going to touch it here. Well, there is none coming on there. What's going on with this? There we go. There we go. I was being a little too sparing with it. But that one actually I got a little too much. So I've got a Q-tip here. And I'll just rub it in. But you can see there, a little of it went in there. It's almost like one of those, the enamel, the panel line stuff. The stuff works kind of like that. It gets into the creases here. So there we go. That's a nice little grease spot. I'll rub it off here. If it collects a little bit too much, remember, most of this is thinner. So it's like 90% thinner in this stuff. So it will come right off. Generally. And very, very important to point out, let's get a bunch up in here. Very important to point out is that you must, absolutely must, clear coat your model before you start putting any of this stuff on. So I've given these guys 2 coats of Mr. Clear. What's it called? I think we talked about it in the last video. It's Mr. Matte Spray or Mr. something or other. And I gave him 2 coats of that. And I made a mistake actually with R2D2. So I was happy along, doing my thing, you know, spraying these things down with the matte finish, and I forgot that R2 had a clear eyeball, his little eye camera thing, and I got it with the clear coat, and it ruined it. Well, it didn't ruin it. Here, I'm going to show you which one it is. It's this one. See how it's real dull? This is my old one. So I traded it. I took the good one off of that model and put it on here. So there he is right there. He's nice and shiny. So I was lucky I had this old one, because I would hate for Nick at Echo Base Network to get a bad R2 eye, all this work and stuff, and for him to get a bad eye. I wasn't happy with that. I was very upset with myself that I didn't think to take the eyepiece out. I should. So if you're building this along with me, or you're going to do this, make sure before you clear coat your model, if you paint it like we're doing, take the eye out, or just don't put it in until you're done with the whole thing. Make that eye the last thing you do to the model. All right, a little more grease here. So these are joints right here, and I picture these as like hydraulic things. So those would naturally probably have some buildup. Maybe in there. All these little metal parts and hydraulic gears and pulleys. They would probably get a good amount of it in there. Maybe I went a little overboard on this one. That's okay. Comes right off for the most part. And if you mess up and one part of it gets too much, oh well, and then you got a little story, that he had one particular run-in with a glob of grease or something like that. Just, don't be afraid to make these mistakes, but try to make as few of them as possible, because if you make one or two, you'll be okay. Again, there's a whole model, and people who are viewing the piece aren't going to zoom in on one aspect of it. It's another important thing to remember when you're modeling is any flaws that you see, you are likely the only one who's going to notice it. Unless you hand it to someone and go, oh, look at this awful thing there. So, yeah. So I'm going to put some more in here. This is like the swivel. So where his head turns, there would be a lot of buildup in there. I'll be like Luke, Yeah, you got a lot of carbon scoring here. You seen much action? You been in any battles? So yeah, I may have seen the movie a few times. All right, so there we go. I think R5 is looking pretty messed up. All right, let's bring over the rust one. Now this one, I'm going to put some on R2, but R5 is going to have the most of it. Okay, I'm just cleaning my brush a little bit. I don't want to get any of the black in there. Okay. Just going to stir it up. Looks like it's okay. Wipe off the old brush. Now, same philosophy here with the rust, but even more so. It's going to show where water or things would accumulate. So we're going to start down here. And we're just going to put some there and put some here. Wipe off any excess. And this stuff's pretty cool because you can rub it and it just gives a slight stain. So with the rust, you do want to be careful. You don't want to do too much. So I'm going to put a little there and a little there. We'll wipe it in. This is going on a little bit strong. Let's get it cleaned, bud. I love this rust stuff because it just really adds a nice subtle color to it. Okay, let's do this side. Don't want to forget the sides. We'll put a little bit down here. Just subtle, just very little. You don't need much because, like I said, then he'll turn orange. He's not an orange bot, You don't want to, you just want it very here and there, spotty, a little accent color. There we go. Just little hints of it. Maybe a little bit in here. Just a touch. That might have been a little too much right there. Okay. Now, where else should he get some? Maybe on his collar. We'll put a little bit here. And I think I did have a little bit of a paint blemish there. Just in a few spots. Really comes out. I love the rust. Absolutely love the rust. Let's be very sparingly. Okay, we probably would see some in here. It's a little recessed area. And a little in there. Absolutely love the rust. I like doing the rust last because it really just gives it that chef's kiss to it. Put a little bit just here on this edge right there. There we go. That's nice. Okay, should we put any on his head? Maybe a little. Again, here's a good spot. Maybe by the antenna. Just to, there may be a little on the antenna too. Hopefully you're seeing all this and I'm not just talking. I'm hoping you can see some of this kind of come to life. Okay, I'm going to put a little touch on that one here. I'd imagine that he would get quite a bit of gunk and things in those areas. Oh, I got to be careful not to wipe off these decals. I already wiped off one of them right here. So the story is that that was damage. Maybe we should put a little bit more there. There we go, like a little scorch mark. That there you go. See, that explains. So again, you can use the weathering things to cover up mistakes you've made. If a decal's missing, you can kind of hide that. And there. So I think we can call this guy finished. Well, the back is a little bit less, so let's put a little bit more. I want to be make sure we kind of get this an even distribution here. Okay, the other thing, make sure when you're doing it, you want to make sure you get where his leg would be. I've got this part here that just looked a little too clean. There we go. Well, okay, so what do you think, huh? It's sufficiently dirtied up. Now, the last piece I do have to do, we have to put the wires in here. Unfortunately, the wires that came with the kit, I painted them and they were like brittle. They just disintegrated basically. But thankfully, I'll show you what I've done. If I can get him to stand up. Okay. Well, he's kind of standing up. Thankfully, I've got a nice substitute here. These here, this is fiber optic wire. So the stuff that came with the kit with these, like they were this thin, and when I tried to put them in, they just broke. Maybe because the kit's old, but I use this is a fiber optic wire, and it is, if you're doing this along with me, it is 0.75 millimeter fiber optic wire. You can see the label there, and I just took a big piece off of that, hit it with the primer, Tamiya primer, and then painted it with this copper XF28. I think it's copper. Yeah, dark copper. And let that dry, and then cut it to length and put them right in there, and it looks perfectly good. I actually kind of like these a little better than the pieces that came with the kit, because I was able to move them how I wanted. Let's zoom out here. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I'm not going to go through that whole experience with R2 on film. Hopefully you understood the techniques, or hopefully I explained them well enough for you. So I'm going to go ahead and give him. Now I do see there are a couple of blemishes on R2 that I do need to fix. One is there's a little nick right here in his collar, so I'll put some rust or some grease on that. I'll cover it right up. There's a couple little nicks on his eye thing up here, and this was from picking off the dome thing, so I'll have to get very carefully in there. And then there's this part here where there's like this taped area that I had, and then the seam line on his dome. So I'm gonna do my best to kind of conceal that. Other than that, oh look, he picked up some dirt from my towel. I should have been more careful laying him down, but it works there. Anyway, Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and do R2 here, and then I'll come back and I'll just show him finished, and then we will call this a completed project. So the next section here will be when I've got some more of this stuff drawing. I had to paint more of it. Well, these will be in, they'll be all completed, and I'll just give my parting thoughts. So stand by, everyone, and we'll do the final reveal. Hey everyone, okay, so not very much fanfare on this final reveal here, but here they are, and very happy with the way these guys turned out. The only little thing I'm disappointed in with this is up here on R2's eye. He's zooming in on you. You can see where I chunked this up a little bit. We're getting a needle in there to prop out that thing. It's not extremely noticeable from viewing distance, like here from a couple feet away, which is when these things will normally be enjoyed. But close inspection will reveal that. And I'm very disappointed in myself that I went ahead and sprayed that matte stuff and forgot to take the eye out, or better yet, actually, as we said before, just leaving that until the end. So if you're doing this along with me, or you plan to, try to keep in mind, don't put the eye thing in until after the build is done. You've done everything, no more, or at least until you've done with the matte coat on there. But I would just say maybe even wait for that for the last thing you do, because he does kind of bring him alive. Like this reflectivity on there, to me, gives it a little bit of life. It seems like there's something going on. And when I had that matte on there, it was just dull and boring. Well, here, we'll show you this one. It's just, it's gross. And right here, this that blue that's from some enamel thinner. I tried to rub it off on this one when I swapped it, but anyway, I can clean that up with some. It's a different color blue, but I'll clean that up some other time. But yeah, this little thing here, that's I'll see what I can do. Maybe I can smudge just the smallest amount of putty in there. I don't know. I'm leery. But just for all intents and purposes, I'm going to leave it like this as far as the reveal is concerned, because I need to get this video created. So yeah, I hope Nick and Coach over there at Echo Base Network like these, and hopefully this will stay on their shelf and keep a good eye and monitor their internet traffic. Plug R2 and R5 in there, and they can help you out. And that's it. So I'm really happy with the build, and just for a comparison's sake, the last note here, I just want to show again, Bandai makes these things pre-colored, so you do not need to paint these. But I'm going to show you here. Let's move R5 out of the way. I have another kit. It's another R2 kit here. This one has the rocket boosters. I just never built them yet. I haven't built them yet. So I'm going to show you. This is the body, R2's body, and this is the white that the kit comes with. I want to just kind of show you these in comparison. Obviously, against pure white, he looks extremely dirty, but if you can notice here, look at the shininess, the sheen on here. This looks like plastic to me. It looks like a toy. This looks like it could be metal. It looks like it's real. It's lived in. It's got some depth to it. Here's some blue. Again, here the blue pieces, like this piece, for instance, right here. That is the blue thing that goes in right here. These little notches right there. That's a blue piece behind there. Here's his collar. But you can see it's super shiny and all that. And again, it's plastic. It's toy plastic, even though it's good quality. Just in my opinion, this looks much better when you paint it, when you pick your colors, do it in off-white. This is an insignia white, Tamiya spray. This is metallic blue Tamiya spray. Now, it could have been a smidge darker. The R2 I did was a little bit darker, but I think this guy plays out just fine. Last little comment here. Again, the wires down here are made from 0.75 millimeter fiber optic wire, because the little pieces that it came with, I'll show you them, are these guys right here. These are supposed to be the wires. When you take these off, at least on the kit I had, they just snapped like like it was the weakest twig ever. And it could be that this plastic is just old. On the kit that I got, it could have been an older kit or something. I don't know. But I didn't have this problem when I built the first ones. But it happened here. And thankfully that fiber optic cable is just the absolute perfect size. And I was able to paint it just fine and bend it just the way I wanted. And they came out pretty good. If you zoom in, there's a little paint came off there. I'll just touch that up. You can see the fiber optic right here. Dude, right in there. Yeah. I'll just touch that up with a little paint and she'll be good to go. So, yeah, that's it, guys. Actually, and now that I'm thinking, I am not going to mess with this eye. This chunk there is just going to have to stay the way it is. So, Nick and Coach, I do apologize for that little error, but hopefully y'all like this this build for you, and I hope these guys serve you well in all the days to come. I know I like mine. I have my two guys right up there. There they are. And they watch over me and my builds all the time. So I love having them with me. So it's been a pleasure building these for you guys. And for everyone who's watching this video, if you have not yet subscribed to Echo Base Network, go ahead. They cover a lot of great pop culture stuff. It used to be just Star Wars, but they've expanded on that. They talked about video games, other movies, Marvel and DC, all kinds of stuff. And you're sure to get some good quality videos almost every day from them, as well as some live streams and other things. And they appear on other channels as well that are too numerous actually to mention here. But all right, everybody, that's it. We're going to sign off here, and we will catch you on the next build series, whatever that may be. See you down the road.